Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining me in my video. I want to talk about something that I've read about lately. I read a book called Dead Wake by Erik Larson. It's about the last crossing of the Lusitania. This is a tragedy that took place that propelled our nation into war. In World War I, we were neutral up until that point, and we had not received any kind of direct threat or any kind of an invasion of any kind from Germany during that time. And so nothing had really convinced Woodrow Wilson at the time that we should be entering World War I. His whole position was one of neutrality. He was very proud of it and very confident that we could stay out of the war. And so people loved him for it. But once U-20, the German submarine, launched a torpedo on the Lusitania in 1915. This is several years after the sinking of the Titanic. Once they launched a torpedo and it hit the ship, hit the Lusitania, the ship sunk within 18 minutes. Now, one thing you need to understand about the Lusitania is that there was this belief about that ship, much like there was about the Titanic, which was, this thing is virtually unsinkable. It could be hit by torpedoes and it's not going to go down. Well, it really is quite amazing. It's a marvel in and of itself that this ship did go down. In fact, the torpedo hit the Lusitania just right. I mean, it could have hit anywhere else in the ship, and the ship probably would not have gone down. And there are so many variables that came into play, so many stars that aligned just right to make this happen. And it's just like I said, it's a marvel in and of itself that the ship actually went down. And this ship was loaded with so many wealthy people, men, women, and children. And if you go onto YouTube, you can find film clips from that time on the very same day when people were boarding the Lusitania. And it's very sobering to watch it, knowing that almost all those people are going to drown. They're all going to die on their way to England, to Liverpool. And it's a very tragic story to read, very interesting. I highly recommend the book Dead Wake by Erik Larson. I don't have it on me, otherwise I'd exhibit it. But where I want to go with this is that there was such a supreme amount of confidence bestowed upon the Lusitania to be able to live up to its name. It was the fastest sailing merchant vessel during that time. It could reach a speed of 25 knots. And that was just something that had not been done yet. The Germans had not surpassed that. They had broken the record before, but the English did it with the Cunard shipping line, had done that with the Lusitania. They had achieved the maximum speed that anybody had been able to do, 25 knots. And so it was thought to be able to outrun submarines and torpedoes and things of that nature, and it could, but because submarines really weren't that fast, and so they relied upon subterfuge, so to speak, and so like I said, there was just a supreme amount of confidence put in the Lusitania. Now, looking back on the story, we know what happens. The ship sinks within 18 minutes. And just shy of 2,000 people lost their lives. But, there was an ad put in the newspaper. I think it was the New York Times. There was an ad, because it sold out of New York. I think it was the New York Times. It could have been another paper. I can't remember now. But there was an ad right along the Lusitania's ad for Cunard Company. There was an ad right alongside it from the German embassy saying that any merchant vessel, any vessel sailing in waters that are considered war zones is subject to being sunk. And people laugh this off on the ship. There were ship engineers and builders and architects that were on that ship, and I mean, you name it, there was all kinds of people on that ship, and all of them laughed at the idea that they could possibly be sunk. They just did not believe it could possibly happen. They were so confident in that ship. They were so confident in that ship. Here's what I want to tell you. There is many videos and books and people you can listen to on the subject of confidence, having confidence, and optimism. People like to say the word positivity nowadays, and that's just a word that annoys me to death. I don't even think it's a real word. I think people are wanting to say optimism, and it's just escaping them. But typically, what people mean by positivity is optimism. So I'm just gonna stick to that word. But there's much to be said about being confident and being optimistic. And I think people need to understand that you've got to be cautious when talking about this. It's almost talked about in a name it and claim it type of way. And if you don't know what I mean is if you want something, if you work hard enough, or you think positive enough, you believe in yourself, you can have it. It can be yours. You can achieve your dreams. You can achieve your goals if you're just positive enough. If you just think that you can, if you believe in yourself. I'm all for setting goals, obviously. I'm all for being confident. I'm all for being optimistic. But this whole name it and claim it and idea of optimism is a farce. And I think it needs to be made clear that I am for optimism, I am for being confident, but I believe that you need to be confident in the right way about the right things. And this whole movement that we have nowadays is misleading people. You cannot scope out your life based on what you want and what you think you want, and just simply by believing it into happening. That's not the way life works. And if you pursue that, if you proceed down that path, you're going to be very disappointed. It's good to be confident, but you have to be confident about the right things in the right way. People need to be confident in things that are embedded in their character. You cannot predict what life is going to bring you. You cannot predict anyway with anything with any certainty. You certainly can't think it into happening. Now, I want to say also that you don't always know what's good for you. If we could think our way into a positive situation, we're obviously going to think about things that we want. I'm going to tell you something. As you get to be older, you're going to find out that you don't always know what's good for you. You think you know what you want. You think you know what's good for you. And then you find out through some really hard lessons that you don't always know what's good for you. Life will take its twists and turns, and it will have its way with you. And you will be subject to any number of adversities, trials, challenges that come your way. What you need to be confident about, and you do need to be confident, you do need to be optimistic. It's absolutely vital. It's going to toughen you up, but you've got to be confident in the right way. Here's what I mean. I said before, you need to be confident in what is embedded in your character. Be confident in your ability to be able to handle anything that comes your way. I mean that. People that are supposedly, I hate using the word confident over and over again, but people who are supposedly confident about the direction that their life is going to take because they're believing themselves into it are not actually confident about their own ability to handle what's going to be presented to them. You need to know that regardless of what happens, you can find a way to be happy. You can find a way to be content. You can find a way to provide for yourself. You can find a way to mentally stay sane. And that's so important. You know, happiness is not found in all these things that you're going to be able to do for yourself. You know, you can set all the goals you want, but just be prepared for life to throw you some curveballs. And be confident that regardless of what happens, you're going to be able to handle it. You're going to be able to handle it. And be confident that you're going to find an advantage in whatever is pressed upon you. You're going to find the advantage in it. That's what you need to be confident of. You need to be confident that you're always going to evolve as a person. You're going to harness your will. You're going to tweak your skills. You're going to continue to educate yourself. That's what you need to be confident of. You need to be confident that you're going to be malleable, resilient, flexible. That's what you need to be confident about. You get that figured out, and the rest will fall into place. A lot of things that you want may come your way, and that's great. But don't put all your stock in that, because it's not going to make you happy. It's certainly not going to make you more optimistic. You'd be surprised. So be confident. Be optimistic. Don't play this name it and claim it game where you believe yourself into getting what you want. Forget about that. Forget about the things that you want. Those are nice to have. I mean, put them on paper. Work towards them. But forget about that in the sense that you're going to get it by believing yourself into it. It's not what happens. Believe in what you have embedded in your character. And if you assess your character and you're seeing that you're coming up short on the things I'm talking about, work on it. Read a lot of books. Watch a lot of videos. But take responsibility. No one's going to do this for you. You have to do this yourself. You have to educate yourself. You have to protect yourself. Because there's a lot of people out there who are trying to influence you. And I'm trying to influence you. I'll admit it. But there's a lot of people out there who are trying to influence you who don't know their, well, I don't want to use that analogy. My kids might be watching this. But they don't know one thing from another. And they're pumping their information out to the disappointment of many people who adhere to those beliefs. All right, I've said what I want to say. I hope it meant something to you. And if you liked it, make sure the thumbs up reflects that. Guys, if you want to share it with somebody, I'd appreciate if you did that. And give me your feedback. Subscribe if you like. And I'll be catching you in the next video. Thank you for your time. All right, have a great day. I'll be catching you later. Bye-bye.